Curtis Lee Mayfield was born June 3, 1942 and died December 26, 1999, was an American singer-songwriter, guitarist, and record producer. Dubbed the Gentle Genius, he is considered one of the most influential musicians of soul and socially conscious African American music. Mayfield first achieved success and recognition with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame-inducted vocal group The Impressions during the civil rights movement of the late 1950s and the 1960s, and later worked as a solo artist. Curtis Mayfield was an American singer, songwriter, guitarist, and record producer who had a net worth of $4 million at the time of his death. Early life. Curtis Lee Mayfield was born on Wednesday, June 3, 1942, in Cook County Hospital in Chicago, Illinois, the son of Marion Washington and Kenneth Mayfield, one of 5 children. Mayfield's father left the family when Curtis was 5. His mother and maternal grandmother moved the family into several Chicago public housing projects before settling in Cabrini Green during his teen years. Mayfield attended Wells Community Academy High School before dropping out his second year. His mother taught him piano and, along with his grandmother, encouraged him to enjoy gospel music. At the age of 7, he sang publicly at his aunt's church with the Northern Jubilee Gospel Singers. Mayfield received his first guitar when he was 10, later recalling that he loved his guitar so much he used to sleep with it. He was a self-taught musician, and he grew up admiring blues singer Muddy Waters and Spanish guitarist Andrés Segovia. When he was 14 years old, he formed the Alphatones when the Northern Jubilee Gospel Singers decided to try their luck in downtown Chicago, and Mayfield stayed behind. Fellow group member Sam Gooden was quoted, "It would have been nice to have him there with us, but of course, your parents have the first say." Later in 1956, he joined his high school friend Jerry Butler's group The Roosters with brothers Arthur and Richard Brooks. He wrote and composed songs for this group who would become The Impressions 2 years later. He was also notably a childhood friend of fellow musician Terry Callier. Personal life. Curtis Mayfield was married twice and had 10 children, 2 with his first wife Helen, 2 with a companion named Diane, and 6 with his second wife Althea Marie Sims, who died in 2021 after a 2-year battle with cancer. 17 years before her death, Althea Mayfield founded the Curtis Mayfield Foundation in honor of her late husband. The purpose of the foundation was to help less fortunate students obtain music scholarships. In 1998, Curtis had to have his right leg amputated due to diabetes. He died on December 26, 1999, at North Fulton Regional Hospital in Roswell, Georgia, from complications of type 2 diabetes. Career. The Impressions. In 1957, Curtis Mayfield befriended a young man named Jerry Butler, and soon he and Butler, along with brothers Arthur and Richard Brooks, were performing as the Roosters. The following year, the name of the group would change to The Impressions and would include Sam Gooden. Butler eventually left the group and was replaced by Fred Cash. The music of The Impressions would end up wrapping around the civil rights movement of the 1960s with songs like We're a Winner and Move On Up. In 1965, Mayfield wrote the song People Get Ready for the group, the title track for the album of the same name. It became their best-known hit, reaching number 3 on the Billboard R&B chart and number 14 on the Billboard Hot 100. Rolling Stone magazine later ranked it at number 24 on its list of the 500 greatest songs of all time, and it was included in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's list of 500 songs that shaped rock and roll. In 1998, the song was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. Mayfield remained a member of the group, which was inducted into the Rock and Roll of Fame, until 1970. Solo career. In 1970, after leaving The Impressions and setting out on a solo career, Curtis Mayfield recorded his first solo album, Curtis, which reached the top 20 lists. He went on to work on soundtracks with Aretha Franklin, Mavis Maples, and several other artists, and began writing and arranging music for artists such as Walter Jackson and Jan Bradley. In 1972, he wrote the soundtrack for the American crime drama film Superfly about a cocaine dealer trying to break free of the underworld drug business. Rolling Stone magazine ranked the album at number 72 on its list of the 500 greatest albums of all time. It sold over 12 million copies, and 2 songs from the album, Freddie's Dead and Superfly, sold more than 1 million copies and received a gold certification. In 1973, he released his album Back to the World, which focused on the aftermath of the Vietnam War. It hit number 1 on the R&B album charts. Deciding to relocate with his family to Atlanta in 1982, Mayfield closed down his recording studio in Chicago, from which he operated his Mayfield, Windy C, and Curtis record labels. Accident. On August 13, 1990, a gust of wind dislodged a stage light during the sound check for a live concert at Wingate Field in Brooklyn, New York. The light fell just as Curtis Mayfield was being introduced and forcefully struck him from behind. He was knocked to the ground and pinned beneath the rigging, which broke his neck and crushed his spine in 3 places. The injuries left him permanently paralyzed from the neck down. Although he was no longer able to play guitar following the horrific accident, he discovered he could still sing if he was lying down and letting gravity pull on his chest and lungs. He began to compose and record music in a reclining position. His final album, New World Order, was recorded line by line with him lying on his back in 1996. Accolades. In 1994, Curtis Mayfield won a Grammy Legend Award. The following year, he was honored with a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. In 1999, he was again inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, this time as a solo artist. People Get Ready was chosen as one of the top 10 best songs of all time as announced by Mojo magazine, and, in 2019, Superfly was selected by the Library of Congress for preservation in the National Recording Registry for being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. Just prior to his death, Mayfield was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. The music lives on. Each year, a Curtis Mayfield Scholarship is awarded to 1 exemplary graduating senior at the Chicago High School for the Arts and 1 exemplary graduating senior at the DeKalb School for the Arts in Atlanta, Georgia. Awarded according to a combination of need and musical merit, the $3,000 scholarships are provided by the BMI Foundation, which gives preference to students going on to pursue college majors in performance, composition, and songwriting. Awards and nominations. In 1972, the French Academy of Jazz awarded Mayfield's debut solo album Curtis the Prix Otis Redding for Best R&B Record. Final years and death. Mayfield received the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award in 1994. In February 1998, he had to have his right leg amputated due to diabetes. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame on March 15, 1999. Health reasons prevented him from attending the ceremony, which included fellow inductees Paul McCartney, Billy Joel, Bruce Springsteen, Dusty Springfield, George Martin, and 1970s Curtis signees and labelmates the Staple Singers. Mayfield's last appearance on record was with the group Brand Van 3000 on the song Astounded for their album Discosis, recorded just before his death and released in 2001. However, his health had steadily declined following his paralysis, so his vocals were not new but were instead lifted from archive recordings, including Move On Up. Mayfield died from complications of type 2 diabetes at 7:20 Eastern Standard Time, 12:20 Greenwich Mean Time, on December 26, 1999, at the North Fulton Regional Hospital in Roswell, Georgia, 44. He was survived by his wife, Althea Mayfield, his mother, Miriam Jackson, 10 children, 2 sisters, Carolyn Falls and Judy Mayfield, a brother, Kenneth Mayfield, and 7 grandchildren.